Come and talk of all the things we did today, and for the great relief of having you to talk to. Those are the lyrics of John Sebastian, who was doing a movie called You're a Big Boy Now, which was Francis Ford Coppola's directorial debut. And this wasn't Artie Rip producing the records, which he usually did, nor was it Eric Jacobson producing the records, which he usually did. It was a one-eyed guy named Jack Lewis. He was a jazz producer, very respected, very nice. And we were recording a song called Darling Be Home Soon for the movie. And we had done the tracks. We had done a rough vocal with John Sebastian, and we had strings and horns out there with an Artie Schreck arrangement as an overdub. I had a 4-track machine blank ready to go to record from this machine to that machine, except it was a high rent district. And by that I mean we had bass and drums on one track, and we had John's vocal on the second track, and we had guitars and percussion and background vocals on the third track, and on the fourth track would have been the strings and horns, which we were about to overdub. And Jack turns around and says he'd like to make sure that the horns and the strings are kept separate so we could mix it down after the fact and go 4-4 again. And I said, well, Jack, the bad news is I don't have any track availability. It's the high rent district. What are we going to do? The only red light that's available would be John Sebastian's vocal. He said, screw it. John will do another one. You know, let's get this going. We got a big arrangement out there, and we'll mix it down after the fact. And it was a brilliant arrangement with bass trombones and a contrabass clarinet, and the low end that was just, it filled it up cinemascopically. And then we recorded, and but second before we recorded, I turned around and said, you sure you want me to blow away that John Sebastian vocal? He said, blow it away. I turned to my assistant engineer, Major Little, and I said to him, Major, 1 red light, make it 2 red lights now. Track 2, track 4, strings on 2, horns, bones, yada, yada, yada on 4. Here we go. 2 red lights, Jack. Go ahead. So we record, and it was a beautiful, beautiful take. And then he says to me, let's play it back, but when you play it back, can you open up the speakers wider so that Francis Ford Coppola could love it? So he sort of whispered that to me in my ear. And I clicked the switch, and they were discrete tracks. So the track 1 had bass drums and yada, yada, yada. Track 2 had strings. Track 3 had the background vocals, the guitars, percussion. And track 4 had the violins. So strings, we had rhythm, horns, rhythm, and strings. And we start to play it, and Jack was blind in one eye. We called him One-Eyed Jack. And he always talked to me with the bad eye. I couldn't figure that out, but I guess it was just the way we were seated at A&R Studios. A&R Studios, 112 West 48th Street. Romance right there. Anyway, we start to play it back, and he turns to me and says, let me hear John's vocal on top of that. I said, Jack, John's vocal is history. It's gone. You told me to erase it. I said 2 red lights. I gave you every warning possible. Now I'm shaking because I'm new at it, and I'm the new kid in town, and I'm not in town, I'm a new kid on the block. And here I am guilty of erasing a vocal. And he said, you S.O.B., gets up out of his chair and on the bad eye side, grabs me by my collar and punches me. Right, smack in the nose, and I go across the control room, and I bang into the wall, and I do this. I realize I'm not bleeding, but I got another shot back at him, and next thing you know, what felt like a nanosecond, there's Phil Ramone. He came running in from another studio to break us up and demanding that Jack Lewis be thrown out of the building. And John Sebastian was just sitting outside talking to Artie Schreck, and he saw what was going on, the commotion, and he came running back in, and he said, what's going on? And Jack said, he erased your vocal. And John said, it was just a freaking ref. I could do it again in a second, you know. So, and Zali Yanovsky, one of the Lovin Spoonful guys, was in the studio, and he was a nervous wreck. He was a guy who shook more than I shook in terms of nerves. And he made a mad dash to the bathroom and threw up because he was so nervous about what was happening in the control room. Anyway, Darling Be Home Soon came out, and the movie came out, and it's, as Artie Butler was saying, it became recorded history. We didn't know we were making history. It was the luck of the draw. It was also vitamin P, passion indeed. So that's my John Sebastian, You're a Big Boy Now story from the movie. And I thank you for the honor of being here. Thank you, Artie Rip, for the Lovin Spoonful.